What is your purpose in life? What gets you out of bed in the morning? Forces the air in and out of your lungs? Who even are you? A lot of us struggle with these questions. It's one of those things that you just can't quite explain, but you know there's more to life than what you're doing, what your every day looks like. You know there has to be more, but you're not sure where to find it. Leads to a lot of feelings. A lot of times you end up very depressed, very upset with yourself over things that really aren't under your control, but maybe they are. This is where a lot of us find ourselves struggling to live on. Because what's the point? I get it. I've been there. My name's Adam, and I'm the host of the Live On podcast. Hope you'll follow along with me as we, navigate in and out of the things in life that help us find purpose. I want to share stories with you from my own life, other people's lives. I want to help you find that purpose so that you can choose to live on. This podcast is mainly about suicide prevention. It's designed to help you be the best you so that you want to live on. I'm going to start with this first episode just kind of going through my life and why this is important to me and, kind of give you some insight into who I am and why I feel the need to speak on this topic. Because this is about more than just not killing yourself, and that's a very sensitive topic for a lot of people. But that is what it all boils down to in the end. I want you to be here. I want you to be alive. I want you to feel alive because there is a big difference between the two. And if you're someone who's struggled with this, you understand the difference. You feel it, the turmoil. So anyway, I guess I'll just start with the fact my father took his own life when I was 9 years old. Obviously, that was very difficult for me as a young boy, right on the verge of puberty and heading into the beginnings of being a man with no man to guide me. That was hard. And the biggest thing I've learned, I guess, from my pain is that suicide doesn't erase your pain. It places it on the hearts of those who love you. For me, that was a large burden to bear. I felt the need to protect my mom, protect my brother, but I was 9 years old. I had no right. I didn't have the ability. There I was, burdened by things only a man should feel. A man of the house. And I took on that responsibility as a child. And so this is important to me because I've felt the sting of what it feels like for someone to leave you behind, left with all their pain that they couldn't handle. And I don't want to downplay anyone's pain. I understand. And the biggest thing that I understand about it is my worst pain is the same as your worst pain. Because how can you know anything more than the worst pain you've ever felt? Either way, killing yourself does not get rid of it. It just hands it off. And I'll probably catch a lot of flack for it, but I think it's one of the most selfish choices that you could possibly make. So, how do we prevent it? Why does it even happen? How do you get to that point? I think these are really big questions that they don't have just one simple answer. I can't tell you, no one can tell you. But what you can do is draw on the experiences and the lives of other people who have lived these things and been through these things, people who have been at the very bottom of hell and have drugged themselves out. They've managed to become successful, happy even. Throughout this podcast, I'm going to find those people, speak with those people. I want to share their stories so that it might help you. There's so much to life that we just walk past every day. So many things that are really more important than we make them seem. We're so stuck chasing money, but that isn't purpose. Not even close. That's part of why we struggle. My mission is really just to hopefully get the message to someone who needs it. My mission is to be the voice that tells you don't do it. Look at all these reasons to live on. Because there's a lot of them when you actually start to break it down and look at it. I think a good thing for me to mention in this episode as well, just kind of further introducing myself. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've been sober for 27 months as of today. What a perfect day to start this podcast. I was lucky enough to be a high bottom drunk. If you're not familiar with that term, basically what it means is I didn't completely ruin my life before I realized I had a serious problem. It did, however, cause a lot of damage. I hurt a lot of people. And honestly, I didn't care. Not at the time. I was on a mission to heal my own pain, and obviously I was doing it the wrong way. My brother died when I was 5. He was born with cerebral palsy. And I watched him suffer and struggle for the first 5 years of my life. And no, I don't remember all of it, just bits and pieces. But what I do remember the most is watching it, how it affected my parents, how hard they took it. I watched the pain grow in my father's eyes until he couldn't take it anymore. That's a hell of a thing for a boy to see. And I don't want any of this to sound like, I'm on some kind of pity party, because I'm not. I'm really not. I've worked through a lot of these things, and though you never fully get over them or, let them go, you can accept them and be at peace with them that it happened. It didn't happen to you. The world wasn't out to get you. It just happened. And I think it's important that we remember that. We have to accept the things that happen to us. And we'll get into that in other episodes. I really want to stay on track here, and I probably will get off track very often throughout all of this podcast, because anyone who knows me knows that I can get onto a topic and then onto another, and I can ramble and talk forever. And sometimes my train of thought leads me right past the station. But that was one of the final catalysts for my father taking his own life. He couldn't cope with the loss of his oldest son. And I get it. I haven't lost a child, though I do have 3. My oldest daughter, Cadence Joy, she was born 2 weeks before I graduated high school. That was an eye-opening experience. Really, I was still just a kid, even though I looked at myself as an adult. I'd seen myself as an adult for a long time, and that was foolish of me. Which leads me to another point of my podcast, is your mindset and the way you perceive things, your perception of the world itself, and of the events that happen to you, around you. things that you're part of, it all is so important. It plays such a factor. Your mindset can change everything. Because even there, I just said it, events that happen to you, but they don't happen to you. That's the wrong mindset. And even after years of reinforcing it in my mind, I still say it. So as you go through your journey of personal growth, you got to have grace with yourself. You got to understand you don't have all the answers. You don't need all the answers. What you need to do is focus on being the best version of you. So back to myself and why I decided to do this podcast. As I mentioned, obviously, I think it's very important to talk about these things, especially as men, because what kind of men talks about his feelings? I mean, come on, man, right? But you gotta do it. You can't keep it bottled up because eventually the bottle cracks. And then what? Your pain and your despair overflow onto your children, onto your wife, onto the people you love. Don't let that happen. I'm doing this for my dad, for my friend Jeremy, my friend Devin. So many people that I've known that have taken their own life. And every time I hear about it, I think, why haven't I started my podcast yet? Why haven't I started talking about this? I'm the one to do it. I have been in the depths of that hell. I have lived there for years, tormenting myself. I need to say something. I need to speak up because maybe what I have to say will change someone's mind. Maybe they'll give it one more day. Because you never know who you're going to meet tomorrow, the opportunities that might arise tomorrow. You just don't know. So why give up? You could have your whole entire life change tomorrow. And maybe it's not tomorrow, maybe it's next week, next month, but you're never going to know if you end it all today. It's so important for us to just keep moving forward because life is a roller coaster. It's up and down. And if you check out and get off the roller coaster on one of the downs, you may never see the biggest up. And that's poor terminology. You'll have to forgive me because, honestly, I'm pretty afraid to do this. I've never done anything like this. But I can feel it calling to me. This is what I am supposed to do. This is where I'm supposed to be. Which all leads me back to purpose. What is your purpose? If you don't know the answer to that, it's okay. It may not feel okay. You may think to yourself, wow, I actually don't have a clue why I'm on this earth. And that's good. You may think, what the hell is this guy talking about? How is that good? But it's good because that means you have a whole journey ahead of you to discover what that is and learn how to apply it and how to do things that will actively affect the world. We all have an opportunity to change the world. Every single one of us. None of us can do it alone. And it sounds cliche, but all of our actions together combined will change the world. It will. If you knew that the way you acted towards people during the day, say one specific person, say the cashier at the gas station you see every morning on the way to work. If you knew that your actions directly would keep them from taking their own life, from living on to do what they're supposed to do in life, if you showed them a kindness that changed their mind just a little bit, how would you act? Would your actions change? Would you stop being such a fucking dick all the time? Think you might. You're probably gonna laugh and say, oh, I don't care. Who you? Oh, I'm too cool for that. And honestly, if that's your attitude, fuck you. Grow up. That's not how men think. Good men, they're worried about more than themselves. They're not selfish. They're not cowardly. They don't hide behind their false bravado and ego so they can feel okay about themselves, because I know deep down you don't feel okay about yourself. That's why you act that way. You're struggling. I get it. I was in your shoes. I was there. I've been the exact same way. You can ask anyone that knows me. You know, pretty much any of them will tell you that I'm a dick. I'm working on that. Truly am. And I think I've made progress, but who's to say? Except for everyone around you, the people that know you, the people that care about you. I heard this quote not too long ago, actually, and I made a note of it because I really liked it. And I don't remember where I heard it exactly. I have a terrible habit of just throwing notes in my phone and not actually putting any other information with it, just the idea or the thought. But it goes, the only person coming to save you is the version of you that's sick of your own shit. And it's in there somewhere. If you're one of those people that is cynical and hates the world, deep down inside you, you don't, and you know it. You're sick of feeling the way you do. You hate feeling that way. You hate that the world just seems to be so callous and unforgiving. And so, in return, you're callous and unforgiving. And like I said, I understand. I have definitely been through a lot of things that were really, it's turmoil that was caused by my own hand, my own actions, things that I did that created events that caused me to struggle. The best thing I ever did for myself was to quit drinking. And I'll go more in depth on that later in the podcast. I would like to do a short series about my struggle with drinking, all the times it took me to stop, and how I finally did, and how much better my life has gotten since then. The clarity in your mind is worth all of it. I would trade every drunken night, no matter how much fun I had at some party or some bar. I'd trade all of them to have had this clarity a long time ago. So, moving forward, I would love for you to listen. I would love for you to support this podcast. I'm going to focus on doing a better job of keeping my ideas on track and my episodes more linear. This is just a first shot in the dark, if you want to call it that, but this is just me with a couple of notes and just speaking my mind. And I'm nervous. You can probably hear it in my voice. I mean, I'm sure it's shaky. My face is probably red. I can't see because my notes are covering the camera. But the truth is, I'm not sure about this. But I know this is what I have to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I would really love your support along the way if this is something that you believe in as well. And I've just been trying to remind myself of a couple things. It's really hard to doubt that you can do it when you're in the middle of doing it, right? Which means you gotta start. You gotta take that first step. It's cliche, I know, but the minute you do it, I mean, hell, the minute I sat down here and started recording, I already felt better about it after I've been dreading the idea of putting myself in this position for days, even though I know I need to do it. You can fucking do this. So quit doubting yourself, man. Why? What's stopping you? Truly. I'll tell you right now, there's nothing stopping you. Just yourself. Nothing can stop you except for yourself. Don't let yourself stop you from doing great things. I've been just as scared of success as I am of failure. And that's silly on both sides of it, and yet it's something I've had to accept about myself, own up to, and face. Here I am, facing it, doing it. You can either be too strong to fail or too weak to even try. Choice is yours. I think I would really just like to end this with a thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in to this first podcast episode that I'm sure is terrible, and I promise you it will get better. It is going to be quite the journey. I'm excited to talk to other people that have been in the depths of despair, that have fought their way out. I'm excited to share more of my story with you, more of my ideas and thoughts, the information that I garner, and really just kind of share my journey through the information I find and the things that I learn about so that you can apply them in your life. I want you to find positive personal growth. I want you to discover who you are, who you're meant to be. Because I know you weren't meant to be just some asshole making a paycheck every week. And you know it too. So stop sitting there doing nothing and figure it out. We can figure it out together. There is so much in this world, and you'll never see it unless you choose to live on.